Dogs are always wandering off and they're so cute and fluffy. What if they can't survive in the wild? Well, since you're watching this, I'm sure you have enough survival skills to teach your dog too. We'll show you how to prepare your dog for wild living, building a fire, what to bring, and what not to, along with the necessary skills needed to survive. Your dog will be fully trained in just a few weeks, and ready for anything you want him for. We have many interesting topics about animals on our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like to get new video. Also, you can find beautiful fine art with reasonable prices in the link below. Don't miss it. Can a dog survive in the wild forest? Yes, they can. A few dogs have been known to survive in the wild for weeks or even months. This is because they are able to eat rotten food and hunt for their food. Dogs are also able to stay hydrated by drinking water from puddles and streams. They are also able to find shelter from trees, which provides them protection from predators like wolves and bears. A dog will most likely die if it is not taken care of properly, as well as if it does not know how to find food or water on its own. It can get lost easily without a collar with its name on it, which has led many dogs to be euthanized after being found by humans. A dog that has never been in the wild forest before would likely have a hard time surviving. Yes, some dogs are able to survive in the wild. However, it is not recommended for dogs to live there without human supervision. The short answer to this question is yes, but only if it is well trained and well fed. The long answer to this question is no, but it depends on the definition of can survive. The definition of survive can mean different things for different animals. For example, a human might define survive as living without dying, while an animal might define survive as living without being killed by predators. How would a dog survive in the forest? In a forest, the dog would have to learn how to hunt for food and survive in the wild. The dog would also have to learn how to avoid predators and protect itself. It would also have to learn how to communicate with other animals in the forest. The dog would need time and patience because this is a long process that will take time. The dog would be able to survive in the forest because it can use its senses to find food and water. It can also track a scent. A dog's sense of smell is 10,000 times that of humans. A dog's sense of hearing is about 15 times better than a human's. Its sense of sight is about 100 times better than a human's. The dog can see at night and in the dark without any trouble, unlike humans who need light to see well. What makes a forest wild? A forest is a wild place where there is plenty of space for all the living creatures to roam. It is a beautiful and untouched place where you can see nature in its raw form. A forest is also an important part of our ecosystem, and it has been in existence since the beginning of time. A forest is a wild place that's full of life and beauty, but it's also an important part of our ecosystem. It has been in existence since the beginning of time, so we should take care to preserve forests by not cutting them down without understanding what makes them so special. Wild forests are a source of mystery and wonder. These forests are mostly found in the wilderness and have an abundance of wildlife. They also provide a sense of peace and serenity that humans need to survive. The natural beauty of wild forests is what makes them so special. There is something about the forest that makes it feel like home, even when it's not your home. The answer to this question is not simple. It is a complex and varied landscape that changes with time and weather. In the beginning, forests were dense and dark. There was little light but plenty of life. Nowadays, forests are more open and have more light, they're no longer dark places. The trees have been cut down to make way for agricultural fields, roads, or housing developments. This has led to a change in the forest's ecosystem. It is now much less wild than it once was. What would happen if a wild dog was dropped in the forest? The forest would be destroyed. A wild dog would destroy the forest, and it would be hard for the forest to recover from such an event. The question of what would happen if a wild dog was dropped in the forest is a very interesting one. The answer depends on the type of forest, the type of dog, and other factors. The first thing that would happen is that the wild dog would be scared because it has never seen anything like this before. It may try to run away from this new environment, but it will soon realize that there is no place to go. The next step will be for the wild dog to explore its surroundings and make some friends with other animals in the forest. A wild dog was dropped in the forest and it started to bark. The sound of the dog's barking traveled far and wide, echoing through the trees. The forest animals were frightened by this loud noise, and they all began to run away from the area. Soon, all of the animals had left their homes and were hiding in another part of the forest. How would a dog survive in the forest? A dog would have to rely on its senses to survive in the forest. Its sense of smell is the most important because it can detect any potential prey or danger. The dog would be able to predict the weather and know when it is too wet, too dry, or too cold. In addition, dogs have a keen sense of hearing and sight in the forest environment. In order for a dog to survive in the forest, it needs to be able to navigate easily due to its keen sense of smell. It also needs agility and speed so that it can evade predators or catch prey quickly. Dogs are also able to identify their territory by marking with urine and feces, which helps other dogs recognize their own territory as well. This is a question that I ask myself every day. I am constantly looking for ways to keep my dog safe and happy even if the world around him is going to change. I think it would be difficult for a dog to survive in the forest. They would have no way of knowing how far they could go, or where they might find food. There are also many predators in the forest that would make it difficult for them to hunt for food. How can you tell if a forest is wild or not? Wild forests are more difficult to access, and they are more likely to be found in remote places. Wild forests usually have trees that grow in clumps as opposed to the open spaces of a non-wild forest. There are many ways to tell if a forest is wild or not. One way is by looking at the plants and trees, how tall they are, how full their leaves are, and how much fruit they produce. Another way is by looking at the animals that live in the forest. What types of animals do they see? What types of animals can you find in the forest? In order to determine if a forest is wild or not, it's important to first look at the plants and trees. The taller a tree is, the more likely it is that it's an old tree with lots of foliage. If there are fruit on any plants or trees in your vision, it's likely that they're old. And finally, the more leaves there are on a plant, the more likely it is that it's an old plant. Why do dogs struggle when they are outdoors? There are many reasons why dogs struggle when they are outdoors. Some of the reasons are lack of socialization, anxiety, lack of training, and fear. Dogs have a very different experience in the wild compared to humans. They can survive on their own without any human intervention, and do not depend on humans for survival. In domestic settings, dogs depend on humans for food and shelter, which makes them vulnerable to stress when they are left at home alone, or when they have to go outside. The main reason why dogs struggle is because they have never had to experience being outside before, and it is a new environment that they don't know how to deal with. They don't understand how to react in this new world since they haven't been taught what animals should do in an outdoor setting like catching prey. How dogs can survive in the forest without assistance. The forest is a place where all sorts of creatures live together. The animals in the forest have a lot of skills to help them survive. Some of these skills are useful while others are not so much. One skill that all animals have is the ability to sniff out food. One way that dogs can survive in the forest without assistance is by eating fruits and berries found on trees and bushes throughout their territory. They also eat insects, rodents, and other small prey that they can catch with their paws or teeth. Another way for dogs to survive in the forest without assistance is by following trails left by other animals who have passed through before them, like deer, elk, squirrels, and rabbits. The main reason why dogs cannot live in a forest alone is because they cannot protect themselves from predators. Dogs with their keen sense of smell can find their way home, but if they are not able to protect themselves from predators, then they will become easy targets for animals such as bears and wolves. What can you do to help your dog adapt to living outside? Dogs are social animals and need to be around other dogs in order to avoid loneliness. It is important for dog owners to make sure that their dogs have a good time when they are left home alone. Here are some ways you can help your dog adjust to living outside. Make sure your dog has plenty of time outside. It is best if they get out for at least an hour every day. Make sure your dog has plenty of toys and comfortable places to sleep. This will help them feel safe and secure. Make sure your dog gets enough exercise, especially if they have been cooped up inside all day every day. Many people are hesitant about leaving their dog at home when they go on vacation. They worry about the dog's well-being and how they will be able to care for them during the time. However, this is a common misconception because dogs adapt quite well to living outside. The key is for you to do your part in helping your dog adapt to life outside. This includes letting them out of their crate, playing with them, and giving them lots of attention. Additionally, you can take your dog on walks or even have a friend or family member come over and spend some time with your pup while you are away. Conclusion: can a dog survive in the wild forest? Yes, but only if it is well trained and well fed.